Okay, so something I didn't get to do yesterday because I forgot to film. I forgot to get kitty litter. Now, Devin, why do you need kitty litter? Well, kitty litter absorbs water a lot. So does fertilizer. So what I need to do to this bin and that bin, and actually we did it to the bins up north, is we need to clean out the guts, the cone, make sure there's nothing hung up on there. And then what we like to do is we will fill the throat of the bin, which is just this couple inches here, above the gate, with kitty litter. And I got a big old bag of that. We've already gone through one bag up north. It usually takes about half a bag. It gives it a couple inches. And what that does, that's a great fertilizer trick that I learned when I was building plants, is it makes sure that if, like I've seen places where they will wrap their hoppers, they'll silicone them if they're going to have long-term storage. And a lot of times if they don't have spouts on them, they'll wrap a garbage bag around it. So you want to keep moisture out because fertilizer is designed to attract moisture. Well, when it does get moisture, it frees up a lot of the cations and anions. You would think for a guy that took organic chemistry 3 times, he could remember this stuff. But it essentially makes fertilizer it makes it more reactive. Not that it's going to blow up. Those days are gone. What it does is it makes them want to bind to something. And usually it wants to bind to certain molecules in the dirt. Maybe a clay, maybe a sand, maybe organic matter. And then it turns into a different molecule, and that can be absorbed by the plant. In this case, though, there is no plant, there's no organic matter, there's no clays, no sands. What it wants to do is eat metal. So what we do, and the other thing is it clumps up. So you can have a bridge, you can have just a small throat. You can get clumping that blocks off your shoots, which is no good. So what we like to do is put a couple inches of cat litter in the bottom so that if it does absorb some moisture from the air, from the ground, from the bottom up, that cat litter busts up really easy. You don't really care if you lose it. It's got no real nutritional value, but it's got no downfall. Like we can spread it out in the field, and it's fine to be out there. And really, it's only 10 pounds or 20 pounds that's going to be spread out in a field of a few hundred acres. You're not even going to notice it. Summer, I had to take the gate off. And what happens on these old guys? Oh yeah. Is there. All that stuff gets crusty and rusty, and then it seizes up. And then you end up bending stuff because you're putting a snipe on that to open and blah, blah, blah. So I fixed that up. I put fresh bolts in, painted some stuff, so that's good to go. But I want to make sure I get all that old canola out of there because it had some heated stuff in before. So I'm going to mask up and go in and deal with that. So you can see, and this is inside the bin. It's up there. There shouldn't be an air gap there. So I'm gonna have to probably wrap that in tape or something because it was letting some snow drift in, just a tiny bit. Should be an easy enough fix. But here's something I wanted to show is in some spots where the water gets in, it really chews up. Overall, this hopper is not that bad a shape. I'm quite surprised. Most of the epoxy is still in check, so this one might be quite salvageable. But you can see, hopefully see, there's just a little bit of leftover canola, and it's probably heated. I just want to clean it up. That's looking a lot better. So now, gotta empty this stuff out, close her up, and then I'm gonna pour some kitty litter in. Hopefully this shows up. I'm blocking the manway, and that's the only light, but you can see we got, I think, I'll take a look at this, a couple inches in there. This bin's got some peepholes, so I can't quite reach that stuff very well. It's okay. This blend is actually going to be canola anyways, but you can see we got the kitty litter filled up. Well, she's about 15 degrees colder than it was yesterday. And it wasn't without some excitement this morning, but we got her going. Well, on my way down, almost hit a moose at Jeff's. It came right out of his yard. He's got two approaches. It came out of the first approach, ran right down the road, and it's kind of icy this morning, so I just kicked the truck into neutral. I've already hit a cow with this truck in the past. That was before I was farming. Like a cattle cow, not a moose cow. And you can see I caved in the bumper pretty good. That's really the extent of the damage that had, so I wasn't going to try steering around it, and I wasn't going to lock up the brakes. I probably got about 2.5, 3 feet from its ass before it launched into the ditch, so that was lucky. And then we got down here, and the PTO shaft, the beads inside it were just jammed up. Oops. So there's beads on the quick coupler on that PTO shaft that were just jammed up. We couldn't get them to move for the life of us. Then when we did, we couldn't get them to move the other way. So anyhow, this is going to be our canola blend. It's very close to the same, but slightly different. We have some ESN in there as well, just to feed it later on. Despite the fact that we're putting all of our canola blend down south, we don't have all of our land down south here as canola. It's just that since we floated land, well, I'll back up a step. Because of the price of fertilizer this year and the shortage of supply, we wanted to make sure it's on farm. It will be going forward. That'll just kind of be one of my policies. It's like I want all my fertilizer on farm. And it frees us up logistically to, we don't have to wait until 7 in the morning for precision to open. We don't have to worry about lineups during seeding time. We don't have to worry if we, say we get a late start to the season and, we kind of decide we got to start going 24 hours a day. We don't have to worry about them about trying to have everything full at by 5 o'clock or whatever. We can go whenever we want. We're set. So ideally, I would like everything in one location, but because we've floated, like we have some wheat and durum down here as we do up north, and we have some canola down here as we do up north. So it's not the end of the world that it's not all in one location. It's just a little more tricky logistically. Again, eventually I think we'll get to the point where everything's in one location. It's way more efficient and cost effective that way. You don't need multiple augers or this, that, the other. You don't have to worry about moving stuff. Well, if you're moving it, it's, from, say, that bin over there across the, nothing big. So that's another goal of mine. So there's a little shuttle valve on this remote. No, I guess not on the remote, but that the remote controls, and it sticks when you're going up, so it doesn't shuttle back into neutral and allow that hydraulic to close. So I almost had an accident earlier on, I forgot to mention that. But it works fine if you use the old air control. So we'll do that, and I'll clean it up at a later date. It only does it when it's cold out. So it's probably frosted up or something in the airline. And the other reason right now, wow, even in the future, that it's not all that big of a deal that we have stuff in different places, is that we floated all of our high use or high fertilizer use land. So we've already got 200 pounds of fertilizer down. With the wheat, we're only going to be putting, I think, 115 additional pounds down. With the canola, it's 125. So if we get a truck, I'm going to do some math here real quick and I'll get back to you. But I'll say what a truckload does. I saw this cow coming out, but I bet you that's the bull that I almost hit this morning. Wonder if I can zoom. That's the bull. It had a cow with it this morning, and that's the cow. You can see how deep the snow is. They'll walk on top and then they'll break through. Here, I'll get you where you can see. You can see that they'll walk on top for a bit and then they'll break through. You can see how full the ditches are, which is a fantastic sign considering I've been saying how dry it is, and it was dry here, but we were lucky. I can't stress that enough. Like, we had just enough precipitation throughout the year, and we had enough ground moisture to get through. Yeah, we definitely need to rebuild that subsurface moisture, and this is all going to help, especially because the ground will be very porous. There's not going to be like a layer of, there will be frost, but it won't be like impermeable. It won't just be straight ice. So this should, a lot of this should kind of ooze into the ground nicely, and that'll help us big time. We haven't had this much snow in, if I had to guess, 10 years. Oh, who do we got there? That looks like Dad. See if he'll wave. Nope. Yeah, that wouldn't pop back. Probably wasn't far from putting some over the back too, so let's kick this guy back in. Maybe not. I still had a ways to go. We have had that happen. I actually had it happen in the middle of summer. It was like 30 degrees out. Not 30. Probably 25. We were doing canola. That would have been in, I think, 2019. I was having it go back, and yeah, so it was going up. And I was holding it, I let go, I didn't even look. I walked over to the bin to throw a rock at it to see how full it was. And all of a sudden I saw canola coming over the back, or wasn't quite then, but you could see it start to slough. And I ran and I shut this off, and then I looked back and yeah, there's like 50 bushel of canola on the bottom, on the ground, a lot of shoveling. If I remember right, it's in this guy. That would push, yeah, because it puts air there, it shuttles that goes to there. Yeah, because I was trying to push it backwards. So, yeah, that's the problem. So, despite being a bit colder, this is actually, I would call an ideal day, aside from middle of summer when it's hot-ish, warmish, to haul fertilizer. Now, when you get cold, like it's actually probably about minus 12 out there. Inside the yard, when you got a little break from the wind, it's probably about minus 8, which is perfect. I'll take minus 8, calm and sunny all winter long. It's very easy to work in. You do still have you need to plug everything in and that kind of thing, and clear snow, that kind of stuff, but it's just a beautiful day, and it's great for hauling fertilizer because you're not getting auger change sound there a little bit. Oh, I see what happened. The hopper right there, it was kind of seized at a slight flat angle, and there's a hinge point right at the bottom, and it must have just popped down. It wasn't, those tires at the front weren't, or anything in the middle, were not on the ground earlier, so they must have just popped a little bit. I did lift the jack to try and pop it free, so I bet you that's what happened. As far as moving fertilizer in this temperature, it's great because you don't get the ice buildup like yesterday when it was near zero. We got all that slushy, wet shit on the back of the trucks, and then that ends up dripping into your hopper, or the wind blows snow in while you're filling or getting filled, and that's the kind of stuff that will cause a lot of, not a lot, but some lumpiness or clumps in the fertilizer in the spring. Luckily we have, I saw it today, there's a screen there, I'll show you later, and a screen up at Dad's that we just put across the hopper and jump through. That's just to make sure nothing gets into the air drill. We also have screens in the drill, but why risk it there? Quick reminder, guys, throw me a like, subscribe, ask questions, throw comments. I'll do my best to answer every comment I get. And thanks for watching. So we put 75 ton in that one. I think it could probably take 90, but that would be pretty close with this blend to filling it. So I've still got another 15 ton on my truck, and we need another 10 on top of that. So we said, to hell with it, we'll just fill this guy, and then we know there's 75 and there's 25. I hope I left enough room here. We haven't used this bin in ages, so not really a good option to go the other way. Get himself squared off. A little more. Ahead just a hair. Good. It's okay for it to be slack like that, because once we get some weight, it'll actually deflect and come this way. So what we have right here, notice it's a little flat, is not my shovel. This is Dad's shovel. He stole mine out of the truck. I know that because he drove over this last winter and I watched it happen. I was trying to stop him He didn't see me. But that crafty bastard. Luckily, we were able to reform it a bit. You know, a little bit of hammering, a little bit of stepping and bending and kicking. It works. It's a custom curve. Can't get that at the factory.